Mm-mm-mm. Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. I've had a day, and so I thought it made sense just to jump on live real quick and let everybody know that I'm okay. I've gotten lots of really sweet, concerned messages from people who saw my post this morning and who were just sending me love and light. So the first thing I want to do, welcome to everybody who's coming into the room already. The first thing that I wanted to do today is to say, I'm okay. Because I've been crying all morning. I have no lashes. I have no makeup. I probably look like a human emoji right now, but it is what it is. Today's Thursday, right? Is it Thursday? Oh shit, today is Thursday. Anywho, oh hey God's will. Hey everybody who's coming in. The reason why I'm popping in, aside from letting you guys know that I'm okay, you guys can stop worrying, is when I wrote that post this morning that I got all the DMs about, because you guys don't understand. I have a tendency, hey Monique, everybody who's coming in here, I have a tendency to, when I'm going through something really, really heavy, to be high functioning. So all yesterday, I was fine. I was having business meetings. I was having client calls. I was cracking jokes. I had a courageous conversation with one of my friends, and we felt closer to each other by the end of it. I was having a good day, right? So yesterday, September 28th, was a regular good day for me. Then I get off the phone with my homeboy, and the minute we get off the phone, my co-host Damage texted me that Coolio had passed away. And I was like, Coolio passed away? Is he only in his 50s? Turned out he was 59. And when I was like, wow, that's so young for him to pass away. And as soon as I said that's so young of him to pass away, something in my head said, girl, what's today's date? And Coolio, the news of Coolio somehow unintentionally ended up reminding me that today was the 29th. And I kind of spiraled after that because I think I had been in denial about the date, right? Like I was avoiding, and for those of you who don't know my story, my aunt who raised me growing up when I came to this country passed away on September 29th. Today is the 4-year anniversary of when that happened. And all yesterday, I forgot all yesterday. That's the thing they don't tell you about grief, guys. People think that grief is always with you. I love you too, Monique. Oh, I'm not going to cry. People think grief is always with you, but there are moments where you actually forget. Nobody wants to admit that. You don't carry it with you all the time. There are moments where you're going through life and you're happy and you forget, and then you have a milestone and you're like, oh, right, a piece of my heart got ripped out. And I think the reason why, thank you for everybody who's sending messages. I'm trying to pace myself because now that I'm in this live, I'm realizing that I might cry and I do not want to, because the whole point of the live is to tell you guys I was okay. But no, I think the reason why my aunt passing away, and I hate the word aunt because I want to call her my mom. She raised me like a mother. The reason why I think it hit me so hard isn't because she died, because I think I'm the kind of person who, because of the work I do, because I speak to the dead a lot when I do readings for clients and stuff, I'm actually fairly comfortable with the afterlife. I think the reason why my aunt passing gutted me is because when I was a little kid, my best friend growing up, his name was Lewis. And Lewis's biggest regret in life, the thing that gutted him and that I had to sit with him with for most of our childhood and most of our adulthood, was the fact that he got into an argument with his cousin one day. And during the argument, he said, I hate you. Like, he was just so mad, like, I hate you. And then his cousin left the house and then was murdered right afterwards. And I remember being 14 years old, hearing him talking about the story and how it gutted him that the last words he ever said to his best friend was, I hate you. And he was like, Blue, I would never, ever wish that on anybody. I would never wish anyone to have their last words to someone be something that was other than love. Now imagine I'm a teenager, right? And this is my closest friend telling me this. When he told me that, I was like, oh my God, that sounds like the worst thing ever. And as a result of my then best friend telling me that the last words he ever said to his cousin before he was murdered was, I hate you, the entire time from my late teens up until my adulthood, I've always made it a point that whenever I'm with somebody that I love, even if they are getting on my good damn nerve, the last thing that I say is I love you. Or the last thing I say is something that is steeped in love. Because I do not want to I did not want to ever experience what Lewis went through because his last words were not steeped in love. So imagine me 17, 18, 19, 20, all to my 20s and 30s. I love you, I love you, I love you. Got to the point where there'd be times I'd be on the phone with my mom, and if she wouldn't say I love you back, I would refuse to hang up because my biggest fear was saying anything other than love. Now, here's the problem with biggest fears, guys. What do I always say? Whatever you feed grows. Because it was my biggest fear, I feel like I unintentionally made it happen. Because, not gonna cry, not gonna cry. Oof. I'm the kind of person, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I fall in love very hard. I don't fall in love very easily, but I fall in love very hard when I do fall in love. And whenever I get my heart broken, the first thing I do is book a flight to Boston and go into my childhood bedroom and curl up in the ball like I'm 17 all over again and sob until I'm okay. And then I get back in the plane and back to society and act like nothing happened. It's the thing that I've done since my second engagement failed. Yes, guys, I've been engaged twice. It's a whole other story. So because that's how I deal with heartache, I remember in 2018, the person who I was convinced, someone said Taurus trait. In 2018, the person who I was convinced that I was going to spend my entire life with, the person who I spent my entire adulthood up until that point convinced that I was going to marry, had revealed to me that they were not my person. And I was gutted. The kind of gutted where you feel like, I always say like a cantaloupe that's been, you know when you take a melon and you just like scoop all the meat out and it's just nothing but rind? I felt like I was nothing but human rind. I was gutted out, right? And so I was like, yeah, this sucks because now I'm deep into my 30s, invested in the wrong person, don't know how many eggs I have left. And I'm so clear this is not my person. I cannot believe that I wasted all these years. So I did what I always do. And mind you, this is right before my birthday. That's another thing too. People need to stop breaking my heart before my birthday. That is not the kind of gift that I want. So it's April 2018. It's about to be my birthday. My heart is breaking. I feel like shit. And so I go home to Boston, go to my childhood bedroom, curl up in my blankets and lay down. Now, the thing about West Indian or just immigrant mothers, because all my Nigerian friends have told me their mothers are the same way. West Indian immigrant mothers, just immigrant mothers in general, do not respect boundaries. Boundaries is a very American thing, y'all. They ain't got no boundaries in Haiti. They ain't got no boundaries in Cuba. From what I'm hearing, they ain't got no boundaries in Nigeria, Ghana, or any other places that my friends are from. So my mother could clearly see that I was distraught and laying in bed. She did not give a good goddamn. She came barreling into my room and said, baby, your auntie, go see her. Mind you, because our family is so close, my mother lived in one house. There was a house next to her, and the other house was my aunt. So there was only one house between my mom's house and my aunt's house. And so she was like, baby, go see your aunt. And I woke up groggy from a long flight and said, Mommy, I don't want to see her. I just want to go back to sleep. Like, I'm trying to think to myself, like, lady, you can't see me sobbing. I just want to go back to sleep. Leave me alone. I don't want to see her. Give me a second. Okay. I am not going to cry. Not going to cry. What my mother didn't tell me is that my aunt was in the hallway waiting to surprise me when I said that. So, all I'm thinking is my heart is broken. My relationship is in shambles. I'm probably going to die alone. I just want to lay in bed and heal. And my mother was trying to surprise me with my aunt, but she didn't tell me. So my aunt, who for the first, give me a second. I need to say. My aunt, who for the first several years of my life was the only mother I knew. She heard me say, I don't want to see her, leave me alone. And sorry. Without context, I can imagine how hurtful that was for her. So my mother said, oh, wow. My mother was embarrassed. She slinked away, never told me anything. And my aunt said, it's okay. She's tired. And she went home. The next morning I woke up and my mother said, you know, your aunt was in the hallway. You know she heard you say that. And I said, Mommy, I'm just so heartbroken. I just need some time in bed. I just need to be alone. I do not want to see anybody right now. It's not personal. I promise I will call her. I can't do it right now. And I slept for about 48 hours, got on the flight back to DC and went home. And I kept meaning to call her. I kept meaning to apologize. I kept meaning to explain that it wasn't about her and that I was just going through some stuff with someone who didn't deserve me. But life got busy, and then my birthday came and all things happened. And shortly thereafterwards, you guys know my infamous Oprah story. I'll tell that story on here one day. But my infamous Oprah story happened. And now I'm like, oh my God, Oprah Winfrey knows who I am. And I'm freaking out about that. Like, all these things happened. And then right after that, yeah, just all these amazing things happened. I do not want to name drop because I don't want this to seem like one of those kind of videos. But a bunch of amazing things and a bunch of really amazing people started taking notice of me that summer. And so my head was spinning because I had always been behind the scenes. I had always wanted to be a writer. I had never had any intention of being in front of the camera. And so now people that I grew up idolizing knew my name. I was kind of stunned and trying to reimagine what life could look like. I was bi-coastal and going back and forth between LA and DC. And so it looked like, wow, maybe even though my love life is garbage right now, maybe my dreams are coming true, and that's what I need to lean into. And that became my priority. And I remember going to ABFF that year. And here I am at ABFF at like this game night, this after party at Jesse Williams' house, and Issa and Angela Rye and everybody else is there. And I'm just like, yo, I really think that my dreams are going to come true. I really think that me being a writer and me always wanting to be a writer and always wanting to write screenplays and have my work be on, like, see it on stage, like it's all gonna happen. So I got so excited. And I remember it was September, right? Mind you, this all happened in April, May, June, July, August. The whole summer I felt like God was sending me all my prayers answered. September comes and Mac Miller died. And Mac Miller's album, The Divine Feminine, is the album that I remember last hearing when I thought I was in love, right? So whenever I think of Divine Feminine by Mac Miller, I know he's a rapper, but that whole album was a love letter to Ariana Grande when they were dating. And so there were so many songs on that album that make me think of being in love. Like We is a big one, right? Cinderella. There's so many songs on that album that I remember driving down the Pacific Coast Highway and listening to with who I thought was my beloved. And so when Mac Miller died, I was like, what? It felt like love had died, right? Because I had so closely associated his last album to, not his last album, I think he had one more, but I had so much associated that album to being in love. And so I was like, yo, fuck, like all this bitter and sweet are happening simultaneously. I need for September to end peacefully because I'm going through a lot, right? Good and bad. By the way, a lot of you who are watching this, you know what it feels like when one part of your life is flourishing while the other part is in shambles, right? Like either you're in love and your business is bullshit, or your business is prospering but your love life is bullshit. Like it feels like life is always throwing you a mixed bag, right? So I remember thinking, wow, Mac Miller died, and I cried when I found out he died. And I was with some friends when it happened, and we were like, wow, we can't believe he's gone. We went to the record store and tried to find the Divine Feminine, but it had sold out. It was just a very bittersweet, melancholy time. And I remember saying, I'm going to treat myself and have a spa day. So I had a spa day. I got my hair done. I got my skin done. You guys can tell. Part of the reason why I think I'm aging slower is because I take skincare very seriously. And I remember saying to myself, you know what? I'm going to get some Thai food. Because my thing is I used to love Thai food. And so whenever, I actually haven't eaten that much since this happened. But I was like, I'm going to eat some Thai food. Because when I'm in a good mood, I eat Thai food. So I go to my favorite restaurant, get my favorite Thai meal, walk into the door, sit on the couch, open the thing. And I was like, oh, I'm about to demolish this. Put the fork in. And just when I'm about to put the first bite of food in my mouth, my mom calls. And my first reaction is, oh God, I do not feel like talking to my mother right now. It's been a long day. She's going to ask me lots of irrelevant questions. You know how mothers are. And then something said, no, Blue, put down the fork and pick up the phone. So I put down the fork and I put up the phone. I was like, hey Mom, I'm about to eat. I can't talk very long. It's just that. And then she interrupted me. She was like, baby, your aunt's sick. I was like, what do you mean my aunt is sick? She was like, baby, your aunt is sick. We just found out. We had no way of knowing. She's been keeping it a secret. She's been secretly staying at a hospice and getting taken care of without telling of us. And it's not looking great, but we're going to pray she should be fine. I said, my aunt is sick? They were like, yeah. My mother was like, yeah, but we're going to pray she should be fine. I was like, well, Mommy, I have a flight to LA tomorrow. I'm taking a script writing class. Should I delay it and come to Boston instead? And my mother said, and it took me so long to forgive her for this. By the way, guys, this whole live is a story time about forgiveness. Forgiving yourself and forgiving everybody else around you. My mother said, and this was fateful, she said, no, baby, don't come to Boston. Your dreams matter. I know you've been working so hard for this. Go to LA, take the classes, take the meetings, and then come to Boston to see us. We'll still be here. So I said, Mommy, are you sure? I can book this flight to Boston immediately. Because Boston's not that far from DC. It's much closer than LA. She was like, no, go to LA. And we'll see you when you get back. So I'm like, all right, well, my aunt should be fine. She's young. She's cute. She's popping. And by the way, I owe her a call anyway. So this will be cool. I'll take her out to dinner and apologize and explain to her that boys suck. And, we'll have a good kiki. So I get dressed. And I finish my food. Don't think nothing of it. Get dressed the next day thinking I'm going to go to LA, make these connections, and then go to Boston and love up my auntie and make up for hurting her feelings. And I get on the flight. I'm in first class, the only black person in first class. And anybody who knows, it sucks when you're the only person of color in first class. It sucks. I feel like if you're the only person in first class, you should get a discount because the looks that you get depending on the demographic are not okay. It's always like, oh, are you in the right area? It's a lot of microaggressions left and right. So I'm sitting in my seat and this nice old lady sits next to me. I think she was like Italian because her skin was like a really nice, rich tan. And I'm sitting in my seat. I'm about to order a cocktail, XYZ. I'm just feeling myself like, bitch, I'm in first class going to LA to follow my dreams. And Oprah knows what the fuck I am. Y'all can't tell me nothing. Like, when I tell you, like, this was like a golden age for me. Like, that summer of 2018 was a moment where it felt like my life was slowly coming into focus, right? And I sit down, and we put our seatbelts on, and we ascend. And as we're ascending, you know when you're ascending on a plane, sometimes it makes your ears pop? As we're ascending, I feel a lump in my throat. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm having a weird reaction to us ascending into the sky. Instead, that lump gets bigger and bigger. And then my body gets cold. And then it starts to feel like I'm shaking, like I'm about to have a panic attack. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I haven't even gotten my whiskey yet. I had ordered like some kind of brown liquor. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? And out of nowhere, I just start sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. I had an appointment to get my lashes done that day. You can tell I don't have any lashes today. But I had an appointment to get my lashes done that day. I called the lash girl like, can we reschedule? Because my eyes are puffy because I just spent 5 hours on the flight sobbing and I have no idea why. And the lady that sat next to me was like, are you okay? What's wrong? I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm crying like this. It was freaking me out to the point where I felt ashamed. And I turned into Kenny from South Park and put my hoodie on. I go to LA. The entire trip just feels off. Like my heart is breaking. And I don't even know why. And this is part of the reason where sometimes people are like, it must be cool to be psychic. No, it's not. There's sometimes where being psychic is really fucking annoying. And it's usually when it comes to death and dating. Those are the two times where I would not wish this on anybody. So I go through my trip through LA. I go through the motions. It feels hollow. I cut the trip short and say, Mom, I'm coming home. I know you told me that Auntie and you would all be waiting for me. But something is telling me I need to come home now. And my mother, my spicy West Indian mother, who usually has a lot to say, all she said was, okay, Shady, okay. Which was weird. I was like, you don't have anything else to say? So the whole flight from LA to Boston, I'm like, yo, this is what I'm gonna say to my aunt. I'm gonna spoil her. I'm gonna comb her hair. I'm gonna take videotapes of her. I'm gonna take pictures of her because if she is sick and she doesn't make it, I want to know that I at least said everything I needed to say to her. So I had a whole game plan. When the plane landed, y'all, I swear to God, I know this could not have happened, but in my mind, when the plane hit the tarmac and landed, I stopped, dropped, and rolled out the plane, ran to the Uber, and rushed home. Literally rushed home, threw my bags down, because, I can be a little dramatic sometimes. Called my cousins and said, take me to Auntie right now. I'm in Boston. Take me to her right now. I don't care what time the fucking visiting hours are. I don't care who's awake. I don't care if you're pissed off. Y'all even gotta take me. Where is the hospital? I'll take an Uber. Like, I was ready to go. And as I'm getting dressed, like getting ready to go see her and spritzing on my perfume, for those of you who know me in person, I always smell like roses. I'm putting on perfume and getting ready. And then all of a sudden, my aunt's daughter, my cousin Melissa, walks in. Then my other cousin walks in. Then my mom walks in. And they're all just looking at me somber. And I'm like, y'all are tripping. We don't have time for this. Take me to the hospital. And I'm screaming, take me to the hospital. And my cousin gets real quiet. And she's like, they told us not to tell you. I was like, what do you mean? Take me to the hospital. She was like, no. They told us not to tell you. I was like, who is they? And I quickly learned it was my mother. I was like, what are you guys talking about? What's going on? And that's when my cousin had to tell me that her mother died the day I got that first phone call. Like, she got that phone call, I got on the plane, and she died while I was on the flight. And so the entire trip to LA, I'm thinking I'm rushing home to make amends with someone who had already passed. They kept it a secret from me for a week. And I was like, what do you mean? No. This can't be real. She's sick. I know she's sick. But, like, take me to the hospital. I don't care how bad she looks. They're like, no, Blue, she's dead. She's not sick. She's dead. I tell people this all the time. There's levels to death. Losing someone who is ill is horrible. Losing someone with no warning is gut-wrenching in a whole different degree. I had already subconsciously made peace with the fact that my aunt was sick and she might have died eventually. I had not made peace with the fact that she was already gone. And the last thing she ever heard me say was, I'm tired, leave me alone. I don't want to see her. My biggest nightmare, the thing that I had spent 25 years running from, came true. Which is why when I tell people, do not feed your fears. Ah, man. I'm not sure this life was a good idea after all. You know what the thing is? And the hardest part is, nobody knew how to be there for me, right? Because my aunt's kids, they were in their 20s, still babies in school. My cousin's in nursing school. My other cousin has mental health issues. Like, they didn't have the capacity. My mother, who had lost her mother when she was 16 and who raised her 5 brothers and sisters and who saw my aunt as her second in command, she didn't just lose her sister. She lost her best friend. Nobody in my family was equipped. The reason I'm an emotional intelligence coach is because my family doesn't have any, right? And so even though I was the one who found out last, even though I was the only one who didn't get to say goodbye, I was still the only one who was equipped to help them get through it. And so I immediately had to suck it in and help my mom through the nervous breakdown she had at the funeral, help my cousins through their first painful Christmas. I spent $6,000 renting out a house in West Hollywood and flying all my cousins to LA so that we could have a good Christmas without my aunt. I did all these things to make sure that everybody else was okay. Not a single person held me when I cried. Not a single person came to sit with me while I was grieving. I didn't just lose a matriarch. I had no one. And I don't say that to blame anyone, right? They didn't have it to give. Someone says you're the chosen one. Yeah, it sucks being the one who's chosen to be the strong one in the family, right? So there was no one to blame. So you guys, give me a second. I just need a second. Okay. Sorry. There was no one to blame. It was not my mother's fault that she lost her mother at 16 and never learned how to be emotionally intelligent and strong in a healthy way. It was not my baby cousin's fault that they were 20 and blindsided. It was not my best friend's fault that he lived 4 hours away and couldn't be there for me. It was no one's fault that no one could be there for me. It just sucked that no one was there for me. And the ex who broke my heart further confirmed that we didn't belong together. So I never mourned. I never, ever mourned because I was too busy taking care of everybody. And 2 things happened. Number 1, within 3 months, I gained 60 pounds of grief weight. You guys, I've always been a plus size girl. I've always been a big girl. I've always been comfortable in my body. But the way that you see me right now, I'm 60 pounds heavier than my normal size. This is not regular weight. It's not food weight. This is grief weight. For those of you who don't understand, or for those of you who've been raised to be fat phobic, not all weight is based on food. Grief weight is a result of cortisone. Cortisone is stress. And when you are deeply stressed, sometimes your body goes into flight and fight mode. And then it starts to hold weight because it thinks that something bad is happening and it stores it. So I didn't gain that 60 pounds from binging. I didn't gain that 60 pounds from food. I gained 60 pounds from stress and grief that had nowhere to go. And grief weight is a lot harder to get off your body than regular weight. So do I want to be super thin? No, but the grief weight is a very different kind of weight that I don't like. So that was the first thing, right? I didn't grieve, and so I immediately blew up and gained all this extra weight that my body's not used to. I have all these clothes that I love that I can't wear because pre-2018, pre-September 29, 2018, they fit me. So that was the first thing. I was like, wow, my cortisol levels are, and mind you, my entire family has high anxiety. So I'm the kind of person who, if I'm stressed, I will gain weight from stress. It is not food. If you watch me eat, I don't even eat that much. It's stress. So I gained 60 pounds of grief weight, which was devastating because here I am making all these connections in LA, which is the most fat phobic place on the planet. And now I'm gaining 60 pounds while I'm going through the biggest heartache of my life. Another thing happened though. The number 22 started following me around. Everywhere I looked, I saw the number 22. And I very quickly realized that it was my aunt. One of the things that I'm able to tell my clients now, I have a lot of clients whose parents are dying or whose family members have recently died, is that as painful as it is to lose someone, when someone passes away, you have a fresh ancestor. When someone who loves you passes away, I should say. And my aunt immediately made her presence felt as soon as she passed away. And you guys know I do candle magic. You guys know I'm witchy by lineage. I have no choice. It's in my blood. And I started lighting the candles that I make. There's a candle that I make called Heal Thyself. I sell on the site. And it's so weird because I made that candle for myself. I didn't make it for anybody else. And I would burn my Heal Thyself candle every single week for about 6 months and just talk to my aunt. And some days I did really well. Other days, the grief threatened to swallow me up whole. Actually, no, it wasn't the grief. It was the guilt. I am someone who does not live in a space of fear, obligation, shame, or guilt. So when I finally found myself in a predicament where I was guilt-stricken, I thought it was going to eat me alive. I have never felt so ashamed of myself. Because all I had to do was get out of bed and go see her. But I was just so tired. So, since my aunt has passed away, she's been working overtime, calling in favors for me. I think a lot of you, because I get these DMs a lot. Blue, you're so lucky. How do you know so-and-so? How did you end up in such and such place? It's my aunt. Everything that I've wanted since she passed, I get it. And I know that's her, right? Oh, God, I can't believe I'm crying. Everything that I've wanted since my aunt passed away, I've gotten because I know she's working on the other side for me. But the guilt and shame that the last words she ever heard me say were anything but loved. And that the last words she ever heard me say is, I don't want to see her. The guilt of that, I'm not going to hold y'all. I'm a coach. I teach about this. It is really hard when you are having to pull yourself out and there's no support system. My mother, God bless her, said to me one day, hey, baby, I was thinking, it must really suck for you that the last words your aunt ever heard you say is, I don't want to see her. You must feel shitty about that, huh? And I said, Mom, don't you ever fucking say that to me again. I am beating myself up enough. Don't you ever fix your mouth to say that to me ever again. I love my mother. She has no emotional intelligence. Don't you ever say that shit to me again. I'm doing a great enough job beating myself up. I don't need your help. And my family knows me, by the way, guys. If I set a boundary with my family, they know that if they do not follow it, they will be dead to me. I don't play that shit. Like, it's one thing for me to feel bad. Don't you fucking dare try to make me feel bad on top of it. I haven't ended friendships over shit like that. I don't do sassy. And I know my mother was in pain and she saw me holding it together and subconsciously was trying to get a reaction out of me. I understand the source of that toxic comment, but the answer was don't play that shit with me. She later told my cousin, I can't talk about your mother passing because, Blue cussed me out. And I had to tell my cousin, Mom may be lying sometimes. I didn't cuss her. I just told her a healthy boundary that she couldn't adhere to. So, yeah, guys, first 2 years after my aunt passed, I ended up moving to LA. Like, literally, the minute my aunt passed away, I started having deep prophetic dreams, which is why I think I've always been claircognizant, but the ability to talk to the dead did not happen until my aunt passed away. There's so many clients that I have whose family members will come in and I'll talk to them like, why is your dead grandma here? And I'm like, where's that coming from? I think once my aunt opened the door and crossed over and started speaking to me, I think she forgot to close it behind her, because now when I do tarot readings, even though this is not something that I advertise or want to do, I can now speak to people on the other side sometimes, which is really fucking annoying because some of them are really loud and obnoxious. Some of them are very loving, but just know spirits have personalities too. So my aunt immediately started sending me psychic messages and prophetic dreams on steroids after she passed. So she passed in September. A month later, I am laying in bed and I heard a voice loud as day say, you need to be in Los Angeles for the entire month of February 2019. Yo, that's very literal. Like, it's one thing, you guys think that messages come in like cryptic, like Da Vinci Code. It literally said, you need to be in Los Angeles for the entire month of February 2019. No context. So I called my best friend and say, yo, I don't know. Somebody said some of the spirits are hilarious. Yeah, some of them are funny. I will say some spirits are funny. Some of them are nasty. Somebody's nasty uncle came in a reading last week and I was like, ooh, your uncle's a little spicy. But I called my best friend and said, yo, I had one of my prophetic dreams and it said that I gotta be in LA for the whole month of February 2019. And he was like, why? I was like, I don't know. But I know I have to be in LA for the whole month of February 2019. And he was like, okay, well, I'll come with you. So we rented out a house. Mind you, you know how much love it takes for somebody to be told you got a psychic dream that you got to go to the West Coast for a month and be like, all right, I'm down. Like, shout out to him. So somebody said my abuela's transition was September 22nd, so this month was rough. I understand, babe. Oh, your name is Ace Bruja. You get me. So me and my friends, I convinced two of my friends to come to LA with me for the entire month of February with no context. Like, we didn't, all we knew is the spirit guys done told Blue she needs to be in LA this month. We'll see what happens when we get there. It must be, by the way, really interesting to be my friend. Like, I feel like I'm like an adult version of That's So Raven sometimes. So we rent the house, and a week before we're about to move to LA for a month, they cancel the Airbnb. The prices now have quadrupled because you know that when you rent something far out, it's cheaper. But if you wait last minute, it's like a flight. It's much more expensive. The prices have now quadrupled because now it's about to be February and everybody wants to be in LA for Valentine's Day. And my friend said, Blue, we cannot afford a new spot because the other one canceled. You're going to have to go alone. So I go to LA alone. I find an Airbnb last minute that costs an arm and a leg. I stay there for 3 days, and on day 4, I get an eviction notice. This man had rented me out an apartment that he had been evicted from. I'm going to repeat that, guys. My spirit guys told me, my black ass, that I had to be in LA for a month. I ended up in an apartment with somebody who had been evicted. So I text him like, bruh, there's an eviction. Mind you, he's Haitian, so he was really excited about me being a Haitian girl. He was like, hey, sac passe, sis. I was like, nah, fuck that shit. Sac passe, nothing. Where's my money? There's an eviction notice on the door. Somebody said just raggedy. Yes, he was very raggedy. And he was trying to hit on me too. It was all very weird. I said, bruh, if you do not direct deposit me my money, I'm a witch. On some real shit, I will fuck your shit up. Like, I did threaten him. I've never done dark magic in my life, guys, but he didn't know that. I was like, I'll fuck your shit up. Where's my money? So he and I had some words. I scared him. I can be scared when I want to be. I just don't really want to be. I scared him. He gave me a refund, a partial refund. Airbnb found me a random ass basement efficiency in Midtown. Now, for those of you who don't know what efficiency is, I didn't know what efficiency was either. An efficiency is basically a bathroom with a toilet and a shower and a bed to lay in and like a small fridge. It's basically a hotel room. So I'm in this efficiency and by myself. My friends who were supposed to come with me are not with me. And I'm like, Blue, did you really just empty out your bank account and move to LA for a month because the spirit of your dead aunt, who you never got to say goodbye to, told you to? Like, girl, how did we get here? Like, I know you have a gift, but we might have like oversold this one. Like, LA, do you know how expensive LA is? We could never move to LA. So I decided one day, I was like, yo, this is some bullshit. It's February 23rd. No, 22nd. It's February 22nd. It's February 22nd. I'm supposed to be here for the entire month of February. But fuck the spirit guides. Fuck my dead auntie's ghost. Y'all not about to play me. I'm running out of money. Luckily, I had an Airbnb that I was running, so I didn't pay rent. By the way, I miss living on the East Coast because I didn't pay rent for 5 years because I had Airbnb hustle. So I was like, luckily, I don't have any rent on the East Coast because my Airbnb is flourishing. But like, bruh, I could have done something else with this money. So on the 22nd, I remember I hit up my colleague who was working in LA. And I said to her, I was like, yo, I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm about to book a flight for the 24th. Tomorrow's the 23rd. If you're free, we can have lunch. If not, I'll see you some other time. Hold on, let me get some water, guys. All right. So I hit up my own girl like, look, if you're around for the 23rd, we can have lunch. If not, I'm out this place on the 24th. Fuck LA. Fuck everybody. Like, I was so distraught and depleted, right? Like, I'm like, have I not been through enough? And now I'm getting scammed and losing all my money? Like, what the fuck? So I wake up in the morning on the 23rd. She said yes, by the way. So I wake up in the morning on the 23rd, get in the shower, and here's the thing, guys. I'm going to say something that is very weird to you. I have never in my life thought that I would not make it. There's never been a single time in my entire life where I thought my dreams were not going to come true. There's never been a single time in my entire life where I didn't think that I was going to be doing what I do now. I've always known that I was deserving and talented enough. I've never had FOMO. I've never had imposter syndrome. None of that. I don't know why. I can't even give myself credit because I didn't do anything. I've never questioned my value or my purpose ever. My entire life. I don't care how depressed I was. I always knew why I was here. So I got in the shower and I was like, God, I give up. You gonna have to tell me what comes next. I am out of ideas. I know I deserve where I want to go. I'm out of fucking ideas. Me renting out that house and coming out here for a month for no fucking reason was a Hail Mary. I ain't got nothing else. And I sobbed in the entire shower. Like, I was just sobbing in the shower. Mind you, I'm not a crier, guys. There's no water in my chart. It's all earth, within fire. So I cry in the shower. Didn't even bother putting on makeup. Put on some really harsh red lipstick. That's how I felt. My hair was jet black back then. So imagine me with jet black hair and harsh red lipstick and no makeup, just looking angry. Like, fuck this world. I am going back to DC. So my exact words were, I'm going back to DC to lick my wounds. Those were my exact words that I wrote in my journal. I get in the Uber. I go to my friend's office, and we're supposed to be like having lunch, and she's running late. And she was like, yo, I'm running late. My next appointment's actually about to show up. Do you mind if I buy a salad and you can just sit in the meeting and eat the salad? And when this meeting is over, you and I can like have a proper kiki. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I get a salad across the street. It was like a strawberry, kale, spinach, something salad with salmon on top. It was very luxurious and tasted yummy. And I was having a bad day, so she definitely paid for it. Yes, bitch, your treat. And I sit down to eat the salad, and my friend's in front of her laptop, and her other meeting comes in. The lady comes in and sits next to her, and I'm just eating my little salmon salad and hoping to God the fish doesn't stink. Because, eating fish in the office, it's a little prickly, right? So I'm just eating my salad, trying to mind my business, hoping I'm not stinking up the office. And the lady strikes up a conversation with me. At this point, I'm like, look, fuck this town. I'm about to go back to DC and mind my business and just curl up in the ball and die. Like, whatever. So me and the lady are talking and X, Y, and Z. And then, I'm very colorful. She starts laughing and X, Y, and I'm not even thinking anything of it. I'm just eating. Literally, the salad was the most busting thing I was thinking about at that moment. So me and the lady end up talking for like 20 minutes while my colleague was on the phone. And it's two of us sitting next to each other. My colleague's laptop is in front of us, and my colleague's face is hidden in front of her laptop, so I can't see her face. At one point, I get a text. So I look down at my text, and while I'm texting, I can see in my peripheral that my colleague has leaned over from the laptop to make eye contact with her friend, and her friend and her are like having a whispered conversation. Now, I'm big on minding my fucking business, so I just keep on texting until I heard blue. I'm like, well, that's me. So I looked at I'm like, are y'all talking about me? Like, what the fuck? I haven't been through enough. I was real sassy. I was like, are y'all talking about me? Like, what's going on? Y'all, what I did not realize is the woman I had been talking to for that whole 20 minutes while I'm eating my salad and saying, fuck this, I'm going home, I was wrong, fuck the spirit guides, fuck all of this. She was a casting agent. She was a casting agent for a talk show that they were developing. And they had spent weeks looking for their first chair. And she looked at me and said, have you ever thought about hosting a talk show? And I said, I was literally voted most likely to host a talk show in high school. So yeah, I've thought about it. It's the thing that I hear all the time. If you are a articulate, compelling, big-spirited chocolate girl past the age of 30, somebody has called you Oprah at least once in your life. So I was like, yeah, of course I've thought about it. Oprah knows who I am. Not that that means anything anymore because, life sucks now. She's like, we're developing a show. We think you're exactly who we've been looking for. And we were just about to pivot when you sat down. I was like, oh shit, I owe my spirit guides a big apology. I got cast on to host a talk show that afternoon. They were like, I was like, well, when's the audition? They were like, Blue, that was the audition. You just held a hilarious, compelling, thought-provoking conversation with me for 20 minutes while digging into a salad and didn't even think about it. That's exactly what we need for a talk show. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, when do you guys start filming? Mind you, it's the 23rd. She said March 1st. I said, March 1st? Bitch, I live in D.C. She was like, well, it looks like you're about to move to L.A., huh? I stayed in L.A. for 2 more days, sat through hours and hours of castings, picked all my castmates except for one. Shout out to Jeffrey. I sat there for 48 hours picking out castmates. And I watched all the auditions, and everybody I chose got chosen and became my family when I moved to LA. And came back to DC and said, hey guys, I have 72 hours to shove as much as I can into my bag because I'm moving to LA. My aunt was right. And I have never doubted her since. So, the moral of the story is, sometimes when you think things are falling apart, they're really just falling into place. That's the moral of the story time. And I actually wrote that as the tagline for a web series that I developed and produced and put out back in 2010. So I've been saying that for the past 12 years. It's one thing to say, it's another thing to live it. Sometimes when you think things are falling apart, they're really just falling into place. My aunt transitioned. She made me come to LA. Had me out here feeling stupid for a couple weeks. And she sat me down next to the reason I was there. And made sure that when I got back on the plane, I had been booked for my first on-air show. Now, granted, March 1st, I moved to LA. Literally had my shit in the trash bag. I didn't even have time to buy extra luggage. Production. I was shocked by how easy it all came to me. When I sat down, I thought, okay, well, we're doing a show. It's going to be fun. The show was supposed to be the black millennial version of The View. I was supposed to be the Whoopi. And the director walks in on day one and says, hey, everybody, so this is Blue. I was like, hi, guys. I'm thinking he's about to go around. He's like, no, this is Blue. She's first chair. So she's in charge. And you guys have to follow her lead for the rest of the production. I was like, excuse me? Yo, I had no idea I was first chair until that first day. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, Blue, it's your show. Like, you have to make sure that everybody else is good. This is Grant. He's second chair. This is so-and-so, their third chair. Like, they were like, Blue, this is your show. Like, you're the Beyonce, bitch. Like, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. And for my entire first month, I had an instant family. Because when you have a show, you have to have real chemistry. So there was never a moment where I was in LA, like, let me figure out who can be my friend. It was like, I have 5 co-stars that I have to build a rapport with. I have instant friends. And what was crazy is, my first week, I had a panic attack. My very first week, one of my colleagues had written a show called Games People Play. Her name was Angela. And we were all gonna, my colleague from the Griot was gonna go to the BET studio to interview the cast. So I remember I had just come from the East Coast. So I still had this like bright cobalt blue jacket on. It was like a peacoat, but it was bright cobalt blue. I still have it in my closet. She was like, girl, come with me afterwards, and then we'll go get some drinks. So I go to the BET set with her. She's interviewing Lauren London, and I'm sitting there hot as hell in this bright blue peacoat because I'm still thinking I'm in DC. I forgot that I was in LA. And I'm like, bitch, did you really just pack up all your shit and move to LA with less than 5 days notice because of a show that might not make it? Like, was this a mistake? Like, I literally had a moment of logic because I'm a very logical person, but I take lots of risks. Like, I walk out on faith a lot. And I was like, girl, you might have made a mistake. What if the show doesn't hit? What if the show tanks? Getting booked on a show and being successful are not the same thing, guys. So I'm sitting there like, auntie, it's your fucking fault I'm even here. It's your goddamn fault I'm on the show. If this is not a mistake, send me a sign. I need you to send me a sign. This is not a mistake because I'm about to have a panic attack right in the middle of this BET lot. And as if on cue, I gotta be careful what I ask that lady because she's very literal. As if on cue, my friend's interview with Lauren London ends. And Lauren looks at me and makes a beeline straight towards me. And she's like, what's your name? And I was like, my name is Blue. And then I looked at my coat. I was like, oh, I know. My name is Blue, and I'm wearing a bright blue coat. I know that's tacky and so on the nose. I usually don't wear blue because of that. And Lauren looked at me and said, don't say that. That beautiful jacket is the reason I came over here. Because I wanted to know who the girl in the blue jacket was. And then she paused and said, sometimes the thing you're running away from is the thing you need to be running towards. And I swear to God, I heard it in my aunt's voice. My fucking aunt, being the stunt queen that she is, used Lauren London to send me a message. Sometimes the thing you're running away from is the thing you need to be running towards. I said, got it, auntie. I need to stop doubting you. Got it. And Lauren London is the reason why I did not pack my shit and go back to DC. 3 weeks later, Nipsey gets shot. The Griot needs somebody to cover it. So the first time I saw Lauren London was her convincing me not to leave LA by unwittingly sharing a word that I needed in that moment. And the second time I saw her was at the Staples Center covering the funeral of the love of her life. Life and death, life and death. It's all a circle, guys. It's all a circle. You see that? Death is a constant reminder to live. And so there is something so bittersweet because in that at the funeral, by the way, being at Nipsey's funeral, there's no words to describe it. I ended up interviewing the last person to see him alive. His name was Cowboy. He's the one who literally grabbed Nipsey's body and helped him onto the ambulance and watched him take his last breath. And I had to interview him. And the whole time I'm interviewing him, I'm thinking of Lauren and how 20 days earlier, she was looking at me with love in her eyes and telling me to follow my dreams. And I was like, fuck. Like, life is some shit, y'all. So, the show didn't happen not because we weren't great. In fact, the studio said, Blue, the show is so amazing. We just got a green light from the studio to give you guys a 6-week sneak peek. Anybody who's watched Wendy Williams or any of those other shows, what usually happens when a Fox or a network gives you a show, they give you 6 weeks over the summer to test it out, to see how the audience is, and then they green light it for a whole season. The last person that we had a mock taping with, ironically, was Derek Jackson. And when Derek Jackson came in, the first thing my boss said was, his wife didn't iron his shirt properly. He looked slovenly. We now know that his wife was going through other things. So we had just finished interviewing all these people. I had just finished calling all my connects to say, hey, I have a show coming out. Please watch it. We're about to be big. The Black Millennial version of The View. I still think that's an amazing idea, by the way. I still think the idea was amazing. So the studio had said, like, look, love the show, love the chemistry. We're giving y'all 6 weeks. That same day, something happened that I cannot legally talk about with production on set, that caused us to have to shut down production because we were getting sued. Can't talk about it. But what I can say is to have the green light happen at noon and by 6 p.m. you're being told that your show's been canceled on the same day. I was like, yo, seriously? The universe needs to stop playing with me. You know how they say the Lord give it and the Lord take it away? I need the Lord to stop doing that all on the same day. By the way, there's a thing called Taoism, guys. Look it up. Taoism, Taoism. And Taoism believes that there is good and bad and good, right? And so there's a really famous story, a really famous Taoist story about how a man was really poor because he couldn't afford a horse, and then he won some money. And then he used that money to buy a horse, and he was happy because it was good. But then the horse threw him off, and he broke his leg, and it was bad. But then the war started, and they needed people to be recruits for the war, and he got saved from having to go because his leg was broken. So that was good. And as the story progresses, good, bad, they keep on following each other. Nothing is all good, nothing is all bad. And sometimes the bad leads you to the good, and the good leads you to the bad. And I've always resonated with that story because I feel like that's what that chapter of my life was like. Good things kept happening right after heart-wrenchingly bad things would happen, and then something else good would happen, right? Over and over and over again. So fast forward, beginning of March, I'm about to follow my dreams and be on a show that's successful. By early April, the show's been put on hiatus, never came back, because we're now being sued. So I ended up going to the premiere for Little with my castmates. We're like, yo, you think the show's going to come back? Half of us thought it was going to come back. The other half of us knew it wasn't coming back. And I ended up sitting with the cast because my friend Obi is very Nigerian and very free. And he made a beeline straight for Yvonne Orji because they had like a Niger connection. So him and Yvonne are like kikiing. And right next to him is Issa Rae. And I was like, Issa Rae standing next to me and I am drunk and sad. Ain't this about a bitch? And Issa, seeing us in the VIP area, thinks we must know somebody. And looks at me and is like, hey, what's your name? And I was like, my name is Blue and my show got canceled. And me and Obi just threw up the entire story. Poor Issa. I hope to God she doesn't remember this happened. I've seen her since and never brought it up, so probably should have mentioned that in the video. So we just throw up the story like, we moved to LA with 5 days notice to do a talk show. Somebody's getting sued. They took our dreams away, and now we just out here for no fucking reason. And Issa listened to us, and she nodded her head. And when we were done, she's like, fuck them. Build your own shit. I said, what? She said, fuck them. Build your own shit. Probably the best advice I've ever gotten. Fuck them. Build your own shit. And so that's what I did. I started building my own shit, making my own connections, just being my authentic self. And that's how everything's happened since. So, guys, all that stuff, all the good stuff, all the fun that I have, all the friends that I've made, all the adventures that I've been on, I know for a fact they're all a direct and or indirect result of my aunt on the other side, kikiing and calling in favors and harassing me with prophetic dreams and telling me where to go and just believing that I'll trust her and show up where she tells me to. That's why when people tell me they don't believe in the spirit realm, I said, must be nice. I have no choice. I wasn't expecting to tell that whole story. For those of you who lasted this long, thank you for lasting. Somebody said, this is why I follow you, Blue. So you can hear me tell these weird stories. This is why I'm so passionate about reminding people to be humanistic and compassionate. You guys saw that post I made about the young lady who was blamed for her beloved's murder just because she posted a picture of a fucking waffle. And how disgusted I was by how quick people were to just beat at her without ever thinking about what it must feel like. You just watched the love of your life get murdered and bleed out in front of you. And not only did somebody take a video of it and post it all over Twitter, now celebrities are getting Twitter fingers and blaming you for it, all because you posted a fucking picture. Within hours, with no proof, just speculation. Can you imagine how painful that must be? Can you imagine right now if you went to In-N-Out Burger and bought some fries and took pictures of your fries because it was a beautiful day, and then somebody you love gets shot? Instead of saying, oh my God, that must have been so devastating, the entire world says, it's your fucking fault because you took pictures of some fries. Can you imagine what that must feel like? So many of you have normalized callous behavior because it's popular. The best thing about all the heartache that I have been through is that the level of empathy I have for those who are suffering runs deep. I do not have the luxury of not knowing. I do not have the luxury of ignorance. I know what it feels like to feel like guilt is going to eat you whole. And because I know what that feels like, I could never personally take part in making anybody else feel like that unnecessarily. That's why I was so disgusted with the way that people treated that young lady. Because I know what it felt like when I was trying to make myself feel guilty. Full circle, guys. When I told you guys the story about how my mother said, don't you feel like shit? That the last thing you ever said to your aunt before she died was, I don't want to talk to her, I'm tired? Don't you feel like... You all wrote in the comments, oh my God, Blue, that's so callous. Da, 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 da. How do you know that what my mother did was callous, but you don't realize what we did to that girl was callous? Why is it only fucked up when you know the person who's been hurt? Why do you have to know somebody to acknowledge their pain? Y'all didn't expect it to come full circle, did you? You guys know I was having an angle. I can't help it. So, that's all to say. If you sat here for the past however long I've been talking and showed me grace and love and compassion, I thank you. And I also challenge you to pivot that outwards to other people, whether you know them or not. Heartache has tenderized me. And people always say, Blue, tenderized, that's the word you use for meat. The heart is a muscle. The heart is meat, right? My heart has been pounded on so much by a mallet of life that it's tenderized me. There are certain fucked up things that I just cannot do because I know what it's like to be on the other side. I just can't do it. I hope that whoever needed to see this saw this, because I only do these lives where it feels like there's something that can be of service. I thank you for the therapy and the patience of letting me get this out. I thank you for those who came in early and watched me sobbing earlier. I would say that's embarrassing, but I'm learning not to judge my pain. I want to thank my aunt for making me the woman I am today, because I was talking to someone yesterday and he was like, Blue, you're an inclusive leader. Like, you're really inclusive. And I was talking to somebody else a week before that who was like, Blue, you're like a velvet hammer. Like, even when you pound on somebody, you could tell that it's covered in love. And I don't think that was always the case. I think my pain is what's made me supple, right? Which means even though I would give anything to not have been through what I just outlined for you guys earlier in the live, even though I would give everything to have my aunt back, I hate saying the word aunt because she was my mother. She was my second mother. Even though I wish all that stuff did not happen in a selfish way, I recognize that all the good that I do comes from it. So how do I begrudge the thing that is the source of all my blessings? That's what I want you guys to walk away from. So much of your pain has paved the way for your joy. So much of your sorrow has been the seeds that have been planted for you to have your purpose. You cannot applaud for one without appreciating the other, even when it really fucking hurts. Like today. And it's so crazy, guys. I was happy on the 28th. I'm probably going to be happy on the 30th. It's almost like subconsciously I've told myself, Blue, every year you get one day to fall to pieces. And it just happens to be today. The whole point of this live was to share a word and to tell you guys not to worry about becoming okay. I'm okay. These are cleansing tears. The reason why I'm not wiping them away is because I'm not ashamed of them. You know what I mean? There's a purge that's happening. I'm just grateful that my auntie has my back. I selfishly wish that she was here in person, but I'm grateful that now that she's not here, she gets to be everywhere, right? There's one last thing I want to say before I get off, because I really do feel like I need to get off. There's a show called The Good Place, and the show's supposed to be a comedy, but it's actually really philosophical, right? And the entire show is about the afterlife, life and death. And at the end of the show, when someone's trying to understand death, because the whole series is about how do we understand death. Someone says that like existence, all of existence is like the sea, right? All of existence is like the sea. And when you are alive, you are a drop in the ocean. And when you are dead, you return back to the sea. Right? So instead of being one place, you get to be everywhere. My aunt only left me physically. She's returned back to the sea. And I want y'all to think about that. We don't ever die completely. We just move on in a different way. Please be nicer to each other, okay? Because there's some shit that I see on my timeline. I'm just like, yo, life is too short to be moving funny. And if you love somebody, learn from my mistake. If you love somebody, even if they piss you off, say I love you before you get off the phone. Say I love you before you go to bed. Say I love you before you leave the house. Because I would never risk the kind of regret that I've been haunted with on anybody. And y'all know what's the one thing that cured me of that regret? Because I don't feel the regret anymore, even though today I'm crying my eyes out. I went to Joshua Tree. Someone said death is not the end. I agree. I went to Joshua Tree and I had shrooms. And the joke was, Blue, why are you taking shrooms? You are a shroom. Which ended up being the truth. It takes a lot of shrooms to get me high like everybody else because I already am operating in a different kind of frequency. So everybody took shrooms with me and they were all like, ooh, the world seems different. I was like, the world seems the way it always seems. So I had to take a double dose of shrooms for it to even feel like anything other than what I already feel. So that was very humbling to realize that my life is like a walking shroom trip. But when I finally took enough for it to have an impact on me, I remember Purple Rain. There's a 17-minute version of Purple Rain on YouTube where it's Prince performing live in like 1985. And it's like a 5-minute just instrumental before he even starts singing. And so I'm not convinced that Prince might have been on shrooms because Purple Rain live sounds very different on shrooms. Like it sounds the way I think it should have been heard. So I'm finally shroom tripping responsibly as an adult. And Purple Rain is playing, the live edition is playing. I'm in this beautiful house in Joshua Tree. And all of a sudden, I finally feel that I'm high and I close my eyes. And all I see is a burst of gold. Like just gold everywhere. Just gold everywhere. Like just a burst of gold. Like, you know those 1990s videos of Diddy and Puffy in that silver room? Imagine a gold version of that silver room. And so I'm imagining all this gold, but it's feeling like I'm looking at it in a kaleidoscope. And in the gold room, I finally got the chance to have my last conversation with my aunt. She said she forgave me. She said she knew that I would be able to take care of the family. She said she was happy that I was listening to her. And she thanked me for taking care of 22. And I was like, 22? That's the number that always follows me. What do you mean taking care of 22? I just thought that was my angel number with my auntie. Y'all, do you know it took me 3 years to realize 22 was the age of her daughter? and she passed. She wanted me to take care of 22. So that's why 22 will forever be my lucky number. When I moved to LA, I lived in my apartment for 6 months, working every day. And one day I looked outside my window and realized the building right across from me was 2222. She sends it to me all the time. I find so much peace in that. In fact, you know what, guys? I feel better from doing this live. I went from crying to feeling better. All right, I must go now because I'm tired. I love you guys for watching. I love anybody who watches this later who gets what they need from it. And I just thank you guys for helping me co-create this space. I've seen all the beautiful messages you've been sending me. I'm scrolling past them right now. And I'm happy that you're having fellowship in here because that was the whole intention. All right. Today's the 29th. Once it strikes midnight, I go back to being big badass Blue. I'm never really a badass. I'm a tender-hearted motherfucker. You like somebody said happy to hear. Good. Oh, I love y'all too. All right, guys. Tomorrow's the 30th. I get to go back to normal, but for the last couple hours of the 29th on the West Coast, I'm going to let myself feel. Okay? Bye, family. And yes, for that person who always asks in here, I will save this. Bye, guys.